Is human cloning ethical? Human cloning has always been a controversial topic of discussion. Would it be the right thing to do after a loved one dies, or would it just make things more complicated and worse off? Even if human cloning isn't being performed yet, there is cloning going on across the world with other mammals such as sheep, cows, dogs, and just recently monkeys. With the onset of a new era of scientific research and discovery, human cloning could be a possibility, however, the ethics of the matter is another issue of its very own. Let's start with how cloning works exactly. According to the National Human Genome Research Institute, when doing reproductive cloning, researchers will take a mature somatic cell, like a skin cell, from a specific animal and then transfer that DNA into an egg cell that has had its own DNA-containing nucleus removed. Afterward, the researchers can add DNA from the somatic cell to the empty egg in one of two ways. First, they can remove the DNA-containing nucleus of the somatic cell and inject it into the empty egg. The second way is that they can use an electrical current to fuse the entire somatic cell with the empty egg. During both of these different ways, the egg is allowed to develop into an early-stage embryo in a test tube, and then can be implanted into the womb of an adult female animal. As a final result, the adult female will give birth to an animal that has the same genetic makeup as the animal that donated the somatic cell, which is referred to as the clone. This type of cloning might need the use of a surrogate mother in order to allow the development of the cloned embryo, as was the case for the most famed cloned organism, Dolly the sheep. Dolly is famously known as being the very first mammal to have been cloned. It was a dead giveaway at birth that she was a clone due to her white face, while her surrogate mother's was black. The black face on her surrogate mother would have been a dominant gene that would have been passed down to her lamb. Sadly, Dolly lived a shorter life than most due to her health complications, which were most likely due to the fact that she was a clone and not naturally reproduced. Dolly had shorter telomeres than what a typical newborn lamb should have had. Telomeres are known as the caps on the ends of DNA molecules that protect the DNA from damage. Dolly also contracted Jagseit sheep retrovirus, which causes lung cancer in sheep. Then she was diagnosed with arthritis, which was treated through medications. Then, after developing a strange cough, researchers found several tumors growing in her lungs. Ultimately, the researchers decided to euthanize Dolly so that she would not suffer. Dolly ended up living a short life of 6 years. Cloning seems to be a more commonplace procedure nowadays. A man in South Korea by the name of Dr. Wong has been sought after by many dog lovers to have him clone their beloved pets. He is so popular that the owners of the world's smallest dog, Millie, are paying him $100,000 so that they can clone their precious world record-breaking dog. Dr. Wong has already implanted a Labrador with Millie's embryos. To this day, Dr. Wong has cloned nearly 1,000 dogs and is also cloning cows in hopes of better steak production at lower costs. However, not everyone is as successful as Dr. Wong. 2 of the very first primates were cloned last year, but the process took 127 eggs to get to just those 2 baby monkeys. In the end, they still couldn't manage to produce them from an adult female monkey, which may be a problem if human cloning is ever one day going to happen. Many clones tend to have defects after being made, which only leads to their euthanasia. This is a question of ethnicality. Is it okay to simply kill clones after their making? Is that a violation of animal or someday human rights? If human cloning is ever one day going to happen, would that clone still be classified as a Homo sapien, or would it fall under a different category? Those are just a few of the questions that need to be asked if we ever one day clone our beloved grandfather or mother. Personally, I don't think that human cloning should ever be done, because even if the human being cloned is your mother, for example, they would never be able to live up to the expectations set by your real mom. The clone wouldn't have the same personality, memories, or even sense of humor. So in all honesty, what would be the point of cloning someone you loved if they're not even the same as before? Human cloning should never be legalized just because of the fact that there are so many unanswered questions about it. In my own personal opinion, I think that we as humans should stick to repopulating on our own terms and through natural reproduction, not through needles and a tube of DNA.